Welcome back to Light Talk, where the paranormal and the supernatural is a part of our everyday life. Today we have, well, let's say it's out of this world kind of talk. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And so, welcome to the show and go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Erica Gabrielle. I'm host of a docuseries called Psychic Hunter, which I started a few years ago. But my background is that I grew up in a very unusual family business. My mother started one of the first successful psychic lines in America. And so I was kind of exposed to all kinds of, I guess, unusual teas since a child. But even before that, I was very, I guess, kind of uh, an empathic child. So I grew up in a very, very old house built in the 1700s. It was across the street from a cemetery. And I, I think a lot of children are, I was very empathic and very sensitive and would see a lot of unusual things there. One of the most unusual things that I would see, just kind of like sleeping in bed, I would sleep in my parents' bed all the time because I was terrified. And that's the thing, like now I'm older and I kind of like understand things a little bit more. But when you're a child and you're seeing things, it obviously doesn't really make sense and it's a little scary. So I would be sleeping in my parents' bed and then I would have visitors at night. So the one of the things that I saw was actually a guy who looked to me like he was fit, and he would stand at the end of my bed and he would stare at me and smile. And that's scary. Um, but later as an adult, I kind of find out some more information about the house that came out years after we moved out. But to expand on the story a little bit, when I was a kid, my dad would go down into the basement and he would shovel coal for our heater. It was he had one of the original. Yeah, he hated that thing. So I don't blame him. But anyway, it didn't last very long. I think we had that heater for like 6 months before my dad was like, I'm not doing this shit. So I would go down with my dad, and it was a very old dirt basement, and he would shovel the coal, and I would just stand there and keep him company. And there was a cement pad in the basement, and I would always stare at it and have this strong feeling about it. And I would always point to it and say, Dad, there's something under there. There's something under there. And he'd be like, No, no, it's just like an old well. There's nothing under there. And I was always a little afraid of the basement too, which I think is a normal thing, obviously. Uh, so anyway, long story short, many, many years later, I was older and living in Los Angeles. And then one of my old childhood friends called me up and said, Erica, you have to see, I just saw this newspaper article and it's on the news, and they found a tunnel under your old house going to the house across the street, which was an inn. And it turns out that it was an old slave tunnel. And they used to sneak the slaves back and forth. And I think the guy that I was seeing wasn't like a scary pilgrim guy. He was a Quaker, and the Quakers would help the slaves. Um, so now being older, I kind of a little, I understand what I was actually seeing was not scary. But it was really kind of cool because I guess it kind of solidified what I was actually seeing when I was a child was something real. It was based in some kind of reality. And then when the newspaper article came out, then of course it all made sense. Um So it wasn't really something that I would like. I would tell my close friends, but you know, obviously you're not going to like advertise that you used to see like dead people when you were a kid. And so there was a lot of kind of scary things that I saw in the house, and I would always pick up on energies very, very easily. And I think as a result of that, because I was so oversensitive, I actually started to push it away, because it was very uncomfortable. And now I'm more in a solid place in my life, spiritually, where I'm kind of reopening myself back up to these things again. Um, but it and but just everything in my life seemed to sort of like go back to spirituality and the paranormal and you know, coincidentally, growing up, here's another kind of interesting story, but my parents had a retail store. They had a pet store when I was a kid, and it was in this old community. It was called the Village Mall. It was very famous locally around here. um, my dad, everybody knew him. They were like, "Oh, yeah, he's the pet store guy." So, but like, I had a very nostalgic childhood. I literally grew up taking care of animals, and you know, my dad would put me in the puppy pen. So,
That's not too
but
bad.
no, I mean, I can't complain about my childhood at all. I was a very, very lucky kid. Um, but at the mall, there would be these every year, a traveling group of psychics would come to the mall, and they would set up tables and they would do readings. And of course, you know, my mom was an Aquarius. She's really like out there. She always has been like this out there genius. Um, and she loved it. She used to go get readings. And I remember her coming back with a very lengthy piece of paper, and she had asked the psychic about me, and so even all the stuff that the psychic told her to this day, it's all been coming true. And so I pretty much knew growing up, kind of just because of that, like how my life was going to go. And if at first, like, you know, maybe you don't take it serious, but when things start actually happening, then you know it's like, wow, it's pretty profound.
Right.
My mother, you know, one of the things that the psychic did tell my mother, that my mom's name was Mary Jo, and she was like, oh Mary Jo, I'm so, and the psychic was very close to my mom. She used to see her every year, and she said, I hate to tell you this, but she said, you are going to get very, very sick. And that's actually what happened to my mom in 2009. She got very, very sick. And she came down, she had was fighting breast cancer 10 years prior, fought it off, and then 10 years after, it came back with a vengeance.
Mm.
um and I had to, um well, before I jump to that, um my mom, getting these psychic readings, she started to become very interested in tarot. And so she started learning to read the tarot. And then she started practicing and started reading for her friends. And she was a natural at it. And so her friends kept asking her over and over again, you know, to give readings. And my mom was a very business kind of entrepreneur, and she already had experience in business with the pet store, and she started to become very interested in this type of business. So she decided, you know, okay, well, I'm going to start doing readings. And so what she did was she put a little blurb and a classified blurb in those, we used to call them the trade magazines, like the National Enquirer, World Weekly News, and there was a third one. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but they were all owned by the same company. So she put a little classified blurb in the three magazines, the three trade magazines, and she started getting calls. And people loved her because she was a natural. And she started getting more and more busy. And it started to get too much, that to the point where she needed to start hiring people. So that's what she started doing. And that's the birth of her business. And this was probably back in, I think I want to say 1992. So it wasn't one of the first psychic lines in America, but I would say it was the most successful kind of legitimate psychic line, where like it was being run by someone who actually really cared what they were doing and providing quality readings, not just kind of like a factory line kind of thing. We all know a lot of us grew up with Miss Cleo. Unfortunately, they gave a lot of people a bad rap, so my mom had to kind of fight that stigma. But her clients loved her. Still to this day, I have people that I know that remember me growing up in the business that my mom would do readings with. And, I was like 13 at the time, and they would be like, "Oh, I remember when you were 13, and when you turned 16, you got your driver's license, and your mom told me about it." And so we had clients for like 20, 30 years that would just keep coming
Wow.
back. Um, Now, while she was just starting this, I think I was kind of like maybe 13, 14. And then when I became 16, I started becoming very interested in photography. So I ended up going to art school in New York. I became interested in film, theater, photography. So I kind of started off in that industry. But then also kind of always having this thing in the background that my mom would be teaching me things about tarot and astrology and psychic abilities. So for me, it was a very normal thing to grow up with. We did back in the day kind of had to be careful about who you told because, people were a little bit more judgmental, but now it's like very open, like, psychic, Oprah Winfrey gets psychic readings and has psychics on her show. And so it's not like a big deal. But back then, like
Right.
you kind of did have to be careful who you told because there was a lot of religious people that would like kind of turn on us sometimes, even though my dad was Catholic and my mom was, I wouldn't say religious, but she was very spiritual. Um, so we did have to kind of be careful about who we told about it. So after New York, I moved out to California, and that's when my mom did get sick. I was living in California for about 4 or 5 years, and then she got sick, and I had to rush back in 2009. Quickly learned the business side of the psychic company, and then unfortunately I lost my mom like within 3 months. So it was pretty devastating. She was like my best friend, and so I went through a pretty bad mourning period, I would say, for about a year or two. But I also kind of went through a period of detachment with my spirituality and kind of became a little bit numb because it became all about business. All of a sudden I had to take care of my family, take care of, we had like 20, 30 employees that I had to make sure were, kept getting a paycheck. And
Yeah.
so I just went like into business mode. Um, so I ran the company probably an additional, I want to say we're probably on 15 years now. I'm starting to kind of slow down the company. I'm kind of becoming a little semi-retired because I want to go back to my original love, which is film and being a little creative. So I decided, I was trying to kind of think about like, well, how can I combine my two lives now? And that's kind of how the birth of Psychic Hunter happened, the docuseries, because, I want to be a film, I like filmmaking. And so I decided to do a documentary kind of a docuseries on traveling around the world and finding the best psychics in the most spiritual locations on the planet. So that's sort of like the core of the series. So my first episode, I decided to go to Sedona, which is the mecca of spirituality kind of in the United States. Everybody's been telling me about it for years. So I thought, okay, well, I really want to go and experience, but it would be like the perfect place to shoot the pilot. So I just took me and my fiance, and we took a camera and some microphones and just went out there, and I lined up like a psychic or two to interview, and then we went and filmed some of the vortex locations, and then we got some UAP activity on film, which
Yay.
ended up being something. Well, what's funny though, like I don't want to like ruin it. You'll have to watch it because like it ends up being something kind of funny actually. So, but also that's the other thing about the show is that I want to be very I want it to be legit. So like if something's not doesn't smell right, like I'll I'll say it, or or if something's like I'm not gonna go and like play up something, I really am trying to look at everything from a more scientific eye and with good research. So for example, the second series or the second show that I did was in Lilydale, New York. I don't know if you're familiar with Lilydale, New
I
York,
haven't heard that one yet.
but it's considered the birthplace of spiritualism in America. And when I say spiritualism, not just being spiritual, but like the religion of spiritualism.
Okay.
So in Lilydale, New York, is where the Fox sisters um, originally heard well, I would say New York is where the Fox sisters were from, but they were a two little girls that were growing up in a house, and they would hear rappings and knockings on the wall, and they quickly sort of surmised that the knockings were coming from an intelligent source. So the parents sat down and they kind of worked out a system with the rappings and the knocks, equating it with the alphabet, and they started communicating with the spirit. So
Oh,
it turned out that it was yeah, and it turned out so it was a spirit. I can't remember what the guy's name was, but I'm gonna say John Rosnick, something like that. But it turned out that he was a pack peddler that was coming through town, and he ended up getting murdered.
hmm.
And the guy that was, I guess, murdered him and living at the house at the time doubled up the walls in the basement and hid the body in the basement.
Oh,
And they didn't
wow.
find the body until many, many years later. The wall collapsed, and it proved what the girls were saying was true. So the walls inside of the house collapsed, and so the guy basically built it, in a basement where you have like a stone wall.
Uh-huh.
So he brought a second wall out and built it all the way up to the rafters. So you would think that's the inside of the wall, but it was a
Right.
double wall with a space inside, and he hid the body inside of the double wall. So, and they found the skeleton in the pack peddler box years later. So anyway,
Wow.
this whole story began the birth of spiritualism, and Lilydale was founded by very eccentric people who uh, believed that they were religious, but they also believed that there was something else to after death. Uh, so it kind of sparked a movement in I want to say the late 1800s,
Okay.
um, where uh, and women could be free to speak, and this was something else that was kind of different about Lilydale. Women were considered equal in Lilydale, which was very unusual back then. So then
Right.
it attracted all the suffragettes, and so Susan B. Anthony ended up going there,
No.
and she would give speeches in Lilydale. And then through my research, I found out that Susan B. Anthony actually attended a seance. One of her friends convinced her to attend a seance
Oh,
in which she
really?
quickly told, yes, yes, in which she got in touch with an aunt and didn't like the aunt and quickly told the aunt to shut up. Typical Susan B. Anthony, she was very, very opinionated. So, but this is the kind of stuff that I'm interested in uncovering because it's like why doesn't anybody know about this stuff? It's crazy. Like, like Susan B. Anthony was hanging out with spiritualists and attended a seance. Like, this is not stuff that you hear or learn in history class. And
No.
unfortunately, it's kind of like covered up. And still to this day, like I'm trying to get like attention on it. And it's so hard, people just kind of want to dismiss that part of um, this, you know, uh, uh, just this, even America. It's kind of like we're kind of soaked in like our dollar bill. It has the triangle on it with the eye.
Yeah.
Astrology has a lot to do with a lot of different things that, even, President Reagan used to um, do his meetings around astrology and consult with an astrologer. But like nobody wants to talk about it,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And
Just
as of
until
some,
recent.
yeah, and now yeah, yes, and obviously we have more of a way to like measure things and prove things scientifically now, and we have the scientists kind of coming over to our side a little bit more now. But
Yeah.
we didn't really have a way to like measure and prove these things before, so but that's kind of like what I'm interested in doing with the show is like uncovering these truths that kind of like nobody really like wants to talk about, and just kind of they sweep them under the rugs.
I
So like I have all these people my whole life who come to me and they're like, well, is this really real, like especially with like like astrology. I just did a interviewed an astrologer, and astrology is one of the most accurate things I've ever come across in this business. um, I always tell people, think about, for instance, for example, the moon, how the moon affects the tides in the ocean, and we're like 75% water. Like, why wouldn't you think that the moon affects us in the same way? So that's kind of the basis of astrology, is how these big celestial um, mass, forms have effect on us. Um, and Yeah, so I've just had a lot of
yeah.
experiences growing up in the business. And I don't, I always tell people like I can't. My job is not to convince you. I can just show you things, and then you have to make a decision for yourself, because
Exactly.
um, people don't really get it until they've had a personal experience. And people who've had personal experiences, you're never going to tell them that they haven't had a personal experience. Like, um, uh, a few years after my mom passed away, I was getting so many signs from her. And If anybody was going to come back and communicate, it would be my mom to me, because I know my mom was not happy about leaving me, and but at least to just to comfort me and let me know that she's okay.
Right.
I've had things happen from, exploding light bulbs to exploding cans. Just I woke up, I had a dream of her, and the next morning I woke up and there was a rosary in my tree. I had a dream that
Oh,
she was walking outside of my porch and came up the steps, and right where she was, there was a rosary there. And
oh,
she wasn't very religious, so but I think she just did that because it was like something that was so like profound. Um, Also, I'm also an experiencer. I had a UFO sighting, just on a clear, normal day. I was driving to my dad's house. This probably happened, I want to say, maybe 8, 9 years ago. I was driving to my dad's house. He's about 15 minutes away. And I was going down the bypass, and it was a picturesque, clear day, not a cloud in the sky, sunny. And right in front of me in the sky was what I first thought was a blimp. But then I looked closer and I'm kind of like clear in my eyes, and it was so obviously not a blimp. There was no carriage underneath. It
Mm-hmm.
was and it was that typical tic tac that everybody talks
Oh,
about.
a tic
Yeah.
tac.
And it was huge. It was probably about the size of a football field, maybe more. Not talking
Wow.
a small craft. And My father was a ROMAD in the Air Force, so I grew up with knowing all the different airplanes, and um, this was nothing military. And I, to this day, I'm kind of like still smacking my head, like, why did I not take a photo? But the only thing I can tell people is that I kind of had that uh, kind of how like Jake Barber talks about that connection, and it was like a loving feeling from the craft, and I think that I was kind of in a way in a trance, and that was part of the reason why I didn't think to pull over and take a picture. I kind of think that maybe they kind of do that on purpose, that no, you don't, there's nothing to see here. You don't need to take a picture.
Right. I think so too.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think there's something to that, like, because a lot of people, like, even some of the psionics that I've seen interviews with, like, they literally have to fight to be like, I gotta get my camera, you know? It's like they gotta, because you're so like focused on like, and maybe it is just shock with what you're seeing, you know?
Could be.
Um, but I definitely felt some kind of like weird connection. Like, okay, like I see you and I know you see me. Like I feel it.
Right.
And but
Yeah.
I was really um just kind of shocked though that like nobody else saw it. So because when I got home, I started talking to my dad because my logical part of my brain was still trying to make sense of it and saying like, okay, well, I started asking him, like, is there anything weird flying out of the base? And he's like, no, they've been shut down for years. And then I tried to put on the news to see if anything was reported. Nothing was reported. So I think there kind of is something to this thing of like um, maybe something to do with telepathy and people who are more sensitive, because there's a lot of people who report UFO sightings and they'll be with other people, and then like one person will see it and another person won't see it, or there'll be a couple people and a couple people will see it, but maybe like one or two people are not seeing it. So like there's something weird about that. Like I don't know if some people are just shut off, or maybe they just only want certain specific people seeing something. So
And I have to
but
agree with that. I
yeah.
have to agree with that. I had
Mhm.
a experience going into work one morning, and
Mhm.
my passenger noticed I was doing unusual things, and I felt like I was out of my body
Mhm.
and was like energy back behind me, struggling to speak. So I think they can work with one specific person,
Mhm.
and I think that they can not allow you to remember. So you could have been like in some sort of like that trance, like you were
Yeah,
saying.
it did feel like a trance. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so they were probably working on you in some way and then deleted the memory so you wouldn't have any memory of what was actually happening.
Mhm. Mhm. And I
Yeah.
do now kind of recall, it's funny because like the more I think about it, things kind of pop up, but I do kind of remember my dad saying like, "Why are you so late?" And I was like, "What are you talking
Oh,
about?"
yeah.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah.
So, but now I'm also um I am open to receiving and seeing things and communicating, but I have strict rules because I always say to them, if you want to talk to me, you need to make an appointment. Don't just show up at my house. Don't scare the crap out of me. Have some respect.
Yeah, I haven't had enough experience to have my
Hmm.
lines and rules and everything, but
Hmm.
biggest rule right now is you have to be of the light. You cannot be of the
Hmm.
dark. You have to
Hmm.
be of.
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes, I do kind of like think to myself, like I'll be like, if I'm just not in the mood, I'll just be like, just don't bother me. I'll be real honest with them. And then sometimes with my son, because I think he's pretty sensitive too. He's been seeing something in his room, and he told me that there was something in the corner of his room, and it was like 7 feet tall. And he doesn't really, I don't really like share too much about what I do with him. And sometimes he'll come and he'll ask, now that he's getting older. But he just kind of said this stuff on his own, and it was happening for like 3 nights in a row. And so finally, the third night, he's like, I saw it again. I saw it again. He came in the room. He's all scared, and I went in the room, and he was. I said, well, go throw some water in your face. And I went on it. I went in his room, and I was like, excuse my language. I was like, motherfucker. I was like, don't bother him. And look, maybe and I don't think they're here to hurt anybody or anything like that. And maybe he was just seeing something in his imagination. Okay. But just in case, I went in and I threatened them. Because I'm very like, I'm all about like, look, again, if you want to communicate, make an appointment.
Right,
You know,
right.
because when you're a kid, it's scary. That stuff is
It
scary,
is.
you know? And so I think that there has to be some kind of mutual respect. So I would encourage anybody who is interested in being psionic or doing these CE5 or whatever. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
Yeah.
calling in that you need to, one, make sure this is really what you want, because maybe it's not all roses. And then two, set your boundaries, you know. And so that's kind of like really what I'm about. So
Yeah.
the other thing too is like I remember when my mom was sick the first time, and we were all really really stressed out and worried about her. Um one of the outer body experiences that I had fallen asleep in my old childhood bedroom, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was out of my body, and I walked into her bedroom, and I was looking down at her. I was looking at her. And then behind me, I felt the light come up. The light that calls you.
Hmm.
And I turned around and I said to the light, I said, "No." I said, "You guys." I said, "You cannot have her."
Not
And
yet.
it went away. And so I think that I just want to say to people that I think, don't let these things intimidate you. You have a lot more control than you think you do, you know? And it could just be because I'm an Aries and I don't put up with any crap. But I'm just saying, like, when you are doing these things, you do want to like you want to set boundaries, you have to be kind of like a strong personality. So, um, and I don't know. I just think that but I am excited that all this stuff is starting to come out with disclosure and all this stuff, because like it's kind of like saying to everybody who has experienced these things, like in all these years, all these poor people have been made to feel like they're crazy, and maybe some of them are, but a lot of people are not crazy. They have seen some things. So I think it's good. But I think Everybody should be sort of like taking baby steps and in their communication. And but I think as a whole, all of us, consciousness is raising. But
Yes.
let's like raise it slowly and together in a good positive. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
Hmm.
To
Hmm.
raise it slowly. You raise too fast, and that can really mess you up too if you jump too fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So, mhm.
have what your experiences, have you had mostly positive experiences for the most part? I mean, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I've had an experience when I was about 6 years old that scared the crap out of me. But
Mhm.
now that I'm understanding it, it was just my family, you
Mhm.
know, my other family that maybe siblings or something like that. I don't know, but they were just children just checking on
Mhm.
me. So, it's I've never really had a horrible experience except for maybe a shadow. And it
Mhm.
wasn't scary. It just caught me off guard. And at that time, I heard a lot of negative with the shadow. So I was like, nope,
Mhm.
it's time to smudge. And I haven't seen it since. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't say that I've had any negative experiences. I think the only thing that I had that I perceived as negative was when I was a child, and it was because I didn't understand it, and it's
Mm-hmm.
scary, you know. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, seeing The Exorcist at like 8 years old didn't help. So,
No,
in a
I
very
didn't
old
finish
house
it.
living across from a cemetery. So,
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
watching it in the basement, it probably didn't help either.
No.
Yeah. Those were not my kinds of movies. I did not go with the scary movies. I still don't like scary
Yeah.
movies.
I don't either. You
Still
know,
don't like them.
my son loves them. He's a Scorpio, and I think he's like, I don't know. My mom loves scary movies too. And then also my fiance loves them. But they just don't understand why I don't like them. And I just tell them it's like I'm too sensitive. Like it like I just pick up on all kinds of energy. Like, I was just talking to somebody the other day about like make sure you're not around negative people or super negative people because that stuff just will ooze up right onto you, especially if you're very sensitive and empathic. Um, you got to be careful because you'll absorb that.
Yeah.
Um, and I understand why some people maybe cut certain people out of their lives because they have to because it's unhealthy to be
Yeah.
around someone who has, who can't control their, I guess, if you want to say demons. I don't know if I really believe in, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with stuff like that though. Like, I mean, I believe in good and evil. Um, but I don't know if I believe in the whole angels and demons thing. Um, I, I mean, I think I believe in angels, but I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I'm transitioning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I used to have like strong, okay, evil, evil, good. Now I'm learning more. I'm understanding more of that. It's just a lower dimension, a lower energy,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily bad, but just having a hard time, like they're um, not, they're going through their lessons that they
Mm-hmm.
need to learn. And it's where they are at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's at their own level. So I'm kind of looking at it more now as it's just a level.
Mm-hmm.
It's just where they are and what level they are in this school.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you feel about animals? How do you think about like their souls and their progression in the the big recycle, I guess you could call it.
I think it would
Mm-hmm.
be about the same. I
Mm-hmm.
have a pet that had passed and she had come back as a huge orb. I got a video of her
Mm-hmm.
um, talking with my new pet, my new pup.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they're still there. I think they can be turning into angels. I think they can do all of that. I think that maybe some of them, if they had a rough life
Mm-hmm.
as they're I'm starting to get this it's all one life. We don't have past lives or anything like that. So I'm kind of transitioning with that too a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in one part of their life, they had to learn the lesson of being an angry animal or
Mm-hmm.
an angry person. But in another part of their life, they're learning the opposite. So they're just trying to figure things out. It
Mm-hmm.
is kind of where I'm at right now with it.
Mm-hmm. I'm really getting a kick out of the alien. It keeps peeking out from behind you.
My little guy.
It's so funny.
I love him. I love my little guy back there. He's so much fun to play with.
Yeah, he is. He's cute. Um, well, I don't so do you believe in reincarnation or you don't?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I believe that we can do that. I've had a really quick past life regression. It was
Mm-hmm.
like a 15-minute thing, nothing big. But I did have a couple lives that I saw myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
they didn't end well, but
That's not good. Well,
right.
I'm sure and that was your lesson of life. So,
Hmm.
um, my mother had this really uncanny ability to sit down and draw like Michelangelo. Like, I don't know where she got this talent from, and that's the one thing that really convinced me of of past lives because she never had an art class in her life and she could just do it. So, and then it's also like these kids who can sit down and just like play piano or start speaking other languages. So,
Yeah.
there's something definitely to it. And again, astrology kind of like that whole thing kind of plays in with um the reanimation of your soul and I guess we have these many different levels that we have to go through before we um can join, I guess, the big spirit.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
don't know. I'm starting to wonder if there is an actual level
Hmm.
because there's so many that you hear of that to me, I have this picture that it's just continuous. There's no
Yeah.
actual level. There's just so much to learn.
Hmm.
I don't know if you can actually make it to, I don't know how the archangels. I understand that
Hmm.
they've never lived a human life,
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
understanding.
Hmm.
So with them, yeah, I think if they've never had a human life or lived
Hmm.
a life per
Hmm.
se, that might be something special. But I think everybody else would probably have to just be in that realm. I mean, just
Hmm.
have their lessons.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, the big truth is that nobody's really gonna know until you pass away, and maybe even then you don't completely know. But there's definitely something to the afterlife, and I think there is a connection with NHI and UFOs, and I think one of the things that I am most excited about disclosure or hopefully I see in my lifetime, our lifetime, that we actually communicate with other beings, um, is what we can learn from them, you know? Um, do they believe in the afterlife? Do they? what's their religion? You know, just even silly things like, do they have art? Do they have their music? Do they have
Yeah.
pets?
Yeah. What do
You
they
know?
have versus what we have? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's a little frustrating too because I mean the government seems to be suppressing so much and I guess the big stink is that, they're kind of implying that maybe people can't handle it. And it's a little frustrating because it's like, well, who are they to say we can't handle it, you know? So you
Yeah.
guys
I
can
think we're
handle it, but we can't.
right, right. I think
Hmm.
we're at a point now where people, it's well known now
Yeah.
where I think we would be safe to just say it,
Hmm.
they're
Hmm.
there, they're here. I've seen them, I've witnessed it. So I know
Hmm.
they're here. I know they're a real thing.
Hmm.
They're
Hmm.
just not blue like my little guy back there, but they
Now,
look very similar.
have you seen craft or have you seen actual extraterrestrials?
I have actually seen the beans. They were in my
Mm.
room, but I've never seen a craft
Oh, okay.
to my memory. To my
And
memory, I've never seen them.
which beings did you see? Like, what did they look like?
The grays. I had the
The
grays,
grays.
the like the 3, 4 foot gray.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When was
just
this?
like my little guy there.
He's just not blue, just gray. And
Yeah,
how many were in your room?
there were 6 of them. I had one that was outside of my bedroom window,
Mm-hmm.
and I was on the third floor, so it was a flat wall on the outside. But one was on the outside looking in, and three at
Mm-hmm.
the end of my bed, one on the side of my bed, the other side, and then one in my closet.
Mm.
And that's pretty, it was scared me, but it was
Mm-hmm.
just different. It wasn't scared like, oh, they're gonna attack me or
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna eat me alive or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that. It was
Mm-hmm.
just, whoa, something's not weird. Something's just weird.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
and they did paralyze me.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you
but
had
come to go
like
ahead.
paralysis. Yeah, that's
Yes.
where they call it like it feels like sleep paralysis kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
And
they
how
did
long were
that.
you conscious of them being in the room with you?
Um I would probably say it was about 15 seconds. I It
Mm-hmm.
didn't
Mm-hmm.
seem long at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Mhm. And then next thing I knew, I was waking up the next in the morning. So
In the
I don't
morning.
know
Mm-hmm.
how long it was. I didn't look at no clock or anything. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
it just
Mm-hmm.
happens. Who's
Yeah.
thinking of looking at the clock? Oh, wait, I was gone for this long. I don't
Yeah.
know how people get that. Their story is their story.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I did not have that thought to look at the clock and know
Mm-hmm.
it was about this time or anything. I was asleep when
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
happened, so I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't paying attention.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Did you feel any did you like have any marks on you or anything the next day or?
I knew nothing about this at that
Mm-hmm.
time. When I woke up, I thought it was a dream for many, many, many years,
Mm-hmm.
that it was just a dream.
Yeah.
Um, and then I spoke with one lady and she's like, oh yeah, this that got all into it. And I'm like, well, that just seems weird, maybe it wasn't a dream. I don't know. Then it's kind of on the
Mm-hmm.
fence on that.
Yeah.
And then when I met the one that got me going on it, it's like, oh yeah,
Mm.
it happened. Yeah.
Have you ever talked to like any mediums or psychics or empaths or anything like have you had a reading about it or anybody pick up anything?
The not on that instance, but I have been told that I do have gray in me
Mm-hmm.
and that
Mm-hmm.
they do speak with me. And how did I get this? Oh my goodness. just within the last couple of days, had like I was asking some questions, and I can't remember if I was talking with somebody or it's one of those
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
memory weird things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I have the Grays, and they're great people. They're the good
Mm-hmm.
Grays,
Mm-hmm.
and they're watching over me. They have taken me to the ship multiple times,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
3 times just recently. I don't know what that recently time frame is,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I don't remember any of it,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't surprise me because I've had a lot of missing time when I've been driving. So I always thought I was sleeping at the wheel.
Mm. What
So
is your sign?
I'm a Scorpio.
A Scorpio.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with you guys.
But yeah, I mean, I've
Hmm.
had a lot of different things happen.
Hmm.
I've seen in a mirror when I first started working, I saw
Hmm.
Sherlock Holmes in a mirror. I
Hmm.
just pops in. I don't, there's no real control at it yet.
What is your background, your ethnic background?
I'm German with Irish.
Hmm. Okay.
And I do
Well, I was
it,
just
it
wondering if you had some American Indian in you.
yeah, actually I do.
Hmm.
It's not a lot. Um but yeah, I
Hmm.
do have some
Sorry,
from
my dog.
it just
Well,
happens. And
hmm. Well, also too, kind of like, where you're living, are you living in the mountains or where are you living again?
I live not too far from the mountains. I can see the
Okay.
mountains very clearly. It takes
Hmm.
about 45 minutes, half an hour, 45
Yeah.
minutes to
What
get to the
state are what
base.
what state are you in?
I'm in Colorado.
Colorado. Okay, yeah, okay. All right. Well, there's an awful lot of activity out there too, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
hear a lot of Sasquatch is up here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Hmm.
can't wait to meet up with one of those.
Pretty hairy. Don't get into a hairy situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're actually we spend about half the year out in Puerto Rico, and there's quite a bit of activity out there. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get some equipment together, and we're gonna be like we always stay kind of like right off of Aguadilla, which is where that famous incident happened, where the UAP craft was out of the water and then in the water and then out of the water and then I
Okay.
think it's split
Yeah.
off into two. So yeah, I'm gonna see if I can do. You might get some dog noises on my microphone. She's literally she's literally smelling the microphone. But I'm gonna take some equipment out there and see if I can get some activity, and I'm gonna start seeing if I can practice some meditation and calling in UAPs and see what happens. I feel like I'm ready for it. So again, I always say to people, and I do this with myself too, like put your boundaries out there though, you know.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah. I'm
yeah.
working on calling in my star seeds. So yeah, starting off with just let me hear you, then I can see you in my third eye, and then we can
Hmm.
start thinking about coming into the room or wherever,
Hmm.
coming in
Hmm.
personally. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Trying to work
Yeah.
on bringing
Yeah.
them
I
in.
mean, I think really people should treat it no different than like how, when you have guests over your house, how you expect them to behave.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I've heard that before. I have a friend that it lives in New Mexico, and she has a lot of um other dimensional friends there. And
Mm-hmm.
she had to do the same thing. If you're going to be rude or anything like that, you can just
Mm-hmm.
leave right now.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah. I
know?
feel like people should be, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but really, like other than that, I mean, the only other experiences that I've had, like in this house, um, my family's been here for at this house probably for about, God, I want to say maybe 25 years at this house. Um, Probably 20. But when I was, I would say 12 to 16, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would see like a ball of fireflies. And I think it's pretty much, they were orbs, is what they were. But to me, when I was waking up, it looked like a ball of fireflies. And then I would kind of like, squint my eyes and do that. And then they would slowly just start dissipating and disappearing. But I saw that quite a bit when I was growing up. Um, Also, um, a house that I used to have, um, I guess about 5, 10 years ago, after my mom passed away, I took pictures in this house that she went through with me. I ended up purchasing the house, and I got orbs on camera. And when you blow the pictures up, I mean, there's something in the orbs. Like you can see the electricity in the orbs. And um, I have I have a degree in photography. I used to be a photographer, and I mean, I can't explain these pictures. They're not like light refractions. They're not, you know, dust. Um, so there's always going to be people who are like debunkers, and
Hmm.
yeah,
Right.
let them debunk away all they want. And I welcome it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just don't be nasty about it. That's what I don't like.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah,
Exactly.
but these pictures, like, I mean, I can't explain them, and there's so much proof out there. There's heaps, there's loads, but people just have to be a little bit more open, and but I'm all for coming at it from a scientific viewpoint. Um, but I think also too people a lot of the scientists that are kind of coming in and studying these things, like, just remember that the mystics have been saying this for hundreds, thousands of
Hmm.
years.
Right.
So so have respect for it now.
Right. Right. We've
Like
told you about it.
yeah, quantum physics has kind of proven everything that we've been saying all these years to be true. So,
Mm,
um, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I love it. I was sweeping my floor one time and I looked down and there was an orb that went flying across the baseboard of the kitchen in the kitchen, just across the floor. I
Yeah.
was like, oh wow, that's my first one from my actual eye.
Wow.
And not through a video or a camera or
That's
something.
amazing that you actually got to see it with your eye, because like the human eye is like, we don't, there's a lot that we don't see.
Right.
So it's pretty incredible that you actually saw it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the thing, and even the kind of like people in the government are even starting to come out, well, maybe it's not extraterrestrial as much as it is interdimensional. And I think the thing is that we're very limited by our five senses. Arguably, we have a sixth sense, um, but like our eye just can't perceive all the reality that's actually in front of us. Our ears can't hear everything, uh, you know, feeling and touch, and we're limited. We're limited by our five senses. This is like a cage, and
Hmm.
in a way, I think when we from this cage, and we have an infinite amount of senses, and then we really can see 100% of what the reality actually is.
Yeah.
But
And that's just raising your vibration. And that's what's
mhm.
going to help us to see these things more clearly, but not fully, but more
Yeah,
clearly.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's kind of like a part of what disclosure is too. Like, everybody is starting to come to the same understanding that these things actually are true, and now we can all, as a culture, raise our vibration, and things start to come out more and more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, it's been great talking to you. And
Yes.
I gotta wrap it up because I gotta get my kiddo in bed. So
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Yeah, I gotta feed a dog, speaking of. So,
but yeah, we'll
but
do it again sometime. So
sounds perfect. Sounds awesome. Yeah, well, thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
no
And
problem.
I know we
Hmm.
can talk forever on this. And
Yeah. Hmm.
I've got lots of experiences to talk about.
Hmm.
But yeah, we want to hear yours and just let people know that, like you're saying, it's out there. It's you're
Yeah.
not going crazy, and
Yeah.
it's it's true stuff. True stuff.
Yeah,
So
I would just say just be open if you haven't experienced anything, just be open to it and, if it's going to happen, it'll happen at the right time. So, yeah.
exactly. Good way to say it. Good way to say it. Well, if anyone else out there has any stories you would like to share, email me at lighttalk423 at gmail.com and we'll get connected. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you on the next episode. Great. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.